The miraculous spring of water that Bernadette dug up at Our Lady's request had healed multitudes. Yet the one whom Our Lady chose to receive her messages, Bernadette Soubirous, remained all her life in suffering. To her the Blessed Virgin said, "I do not promise to make you happy in this world, but in the next." Consolations are those sweet spiritual gifts from God, such as a warm sense of His presence in prayer, an enlightenment or understanding of certain mysteries from Scripture, the joy of zeal, even the provision of temporal needs, and visible signs of answered prayer. When God withdraws these sensible favors, we enter into what is called desolation. Desolations can come in the form of many contradictions, such as dryness in prayer, humiliation, the loss of a good reputation, and even the seeming absence of God. Why does God do this? That we may learn to love Him more than His gifts. Desolations are the furnace in which egoism is consumed and true love for God is proven. Yet how few understand this. Many, ignorant of this holy trial, imagine God has abandoned them. They grow weary, lukewarm, and miserable, and some even almost entirely abandon prayer. Therefore, to remain faithful in these trials, let us take the cross as our guide. There is no glory without the cross, no resurrection without death. The splendor of God's consolations, the warmth of His presence, the joy of clarity, is not our portion in this life, but only a foretaste of the next, and a preparation for the battle below. Now, we must learn to carry the crosses that God sends us. Christ permitted Peter, James, and John to behold His glory, so that they might be fortified to endure the scandal of the cross. Yet Peter, dazzled by the sweetness of this moment, longed to freeze this moment of glory, forgetting that the true work of love awaited him down the mountain, where Jesus would carry His cross. To see miracles, to feel God's sweet presence in prayer, to weep with tears of strong sentiment, these are not the measures of one's love for God. The truest measure of love for God is how generously we strive to accept the crosses that God sends us. God does not say, "Take up your wallet and follow comfort and ease." It is the cross that we must take up, and it is Jesus we must follow. Remember the words of St. Therese of Avila, who after a weary journey said to God, "If this is how you treat your friends, no wonder you have so few. Indeed, the friends of God are not made for comfort, but for the cross. Without the cross, there is no salvation." Saint Bernadette understood this well. After the vision, she was left with chronic illness, suspicion from her own sisters in the convent, and a desolation in which God seemed to have totally abandoned her. Yet she bore all without complaint, seeing in them her share in Christ's passion. On her deathbed, seized by agony, she pressed her crucifix to her heart and whispered, "All this is good for heaven." Let us do the same in our own suffering, and say with her, "All this is good for heaven." Desolations show us how weak our love for God truly is. If we have concluded in our own estimation that we will not fall in such or such a way, we deceive ourselves. The devil, cunning and patient, prowls about like a lion. He works slowly, dulling the conscience, suggesting small compromises, until at the appointed time he strikes, and the soul falls headlong into sin. It is a fatal delusion to say with Peter, "Lord, I will never deny thee," as if your perseverance in salvation were already secure. This presumption is Satan's own lullaby, and God's wise remedy is to disturb that sleep with a crowing cock, that is, desolation. God withdraws His sensible presence, permits dryness in prayer, and various contradictions, even allowing us at times to fall into some serious fault, so that we may see our own frailty and remain vigilant. Such trials are good for us. They rouse us from spiritual slumber and force us to cry anew for grace. Saint Bernadette knew her weakness to the end. Despite a life marked by prayer, sacrifice, and patience in affliction, she died with the humble cry, "Blessed Mary, Mother of God, Pray for me, a poor sinner, a poor sinner. It is not in the hour of consolation that fidelity to God is proved, but when we are stripped of every comfort, when prayer is dry, when obedience costs us much. If in that hour we still choose to love God, then our love is genuine. Look at the good thief, Saint Dismas, racked with pain, yet his gaze is fixed on Jesus. Humble and resigned, he confesses, "We are receiving the due reward of our deeds." He seeks nothing but to give himself wholly to Christ, not for gain, not even with certainty of salvation, for his sins were many. Realize this, everyone is upon a cross. Some, like the thief on the left, cry to be taken down, longing for comfort and ease. Others, like the thief on the right, ask to be taken up, to be with God, accepting suffering and humble resignation. Be of the latter sort when you feel abandoned by all, even by God. Use these moments to offer him acts of love, gratitude, humility, and resignation. It is not in ease, but amid crosses, thorns, and death that love advances. Your true friends are known in affliction, not in comfort. So it is with God. Saint Bernadette lived this truth. She said once, "Why must we suffer? Because here below pure love cannot exist without suffering." Oh Jesus, Jesus, I no longer feel my cross when I think of yours. After Jesus multiplied the loaves, the crowd sought him not for himself, but for his consolations, food, and miracles. When they could not see another sign and his teachings confused their minds, they returned to their former way of life. These are like the souls who strive earnestly to love Jesus amid consolation, but make no progress in loving him when they meet his cross. These people, though they are no longer beginners in the faith, but adults, outgrown the nursery of sweet consolation, yet they still think as beginners in the faith, seeking the milk of spiritual infancy when the cross presents itself. They are scandalized by its darkness, difficulty, and confusion. They want God's gifts, but not God himself. So when they encounter difficulty, they turn away. Consider Saint Bernadette. When a nun asked if she wished to visit the grotto where Our Lady appeared to her and where many people were healed, Bernadette replied, "You see, my business is to be ill." She desired not the gifts of God, but the God of the gifts. Her illness was not a curse to her, it was a trust from heaven. She embraced the cross as the truest school of love. And you, dear soul, what do you seek in your prayers? Relief from suffering? Or do you seek the one who sanctifies you through suffering? In the Garden of Eden, man was surrounded by comfort, ease, and abundance, and in that very comfort he fell. See now the contrast. In another garden, Gethsemane, Christ watches and prays. He prays not for relief, but for strength to fulfill the Father's will, while his friends sleep. This is the danger of spiritual sleep. It begins quietly. The lamp of prayer grows dim. The soul comes up with a list of excuses, and so the heart grows content with very little devotion. The former vigilance gives way to ease. Saint Bernadette, too, knew this watchfulness. She did not use her illness as an excuse to slumber spiritually and forgo her prayers. She kept her lamp burning with humble acts of love, silent prayer, and willing sacrifice. Dear soul, when God withdraws consolations, do not be shaken. Instead, remember the way of the cross. Carry your cross with Christ. Realize your insufficiency. Offer to him your trials as proof of your love. Seek Christ more than his gifts, and stay awake in prayer. These 5 counsels will keep you faithful through every desolation until the day you see him face to face.